Hey everyone, I'm going to go ahead and get started since I announced this live reading at the very last minute. I wasn't sure if anyone would actually be able to come. So I'm here, I'm going to do the live reading, and I will send out a recording to all the backers later. And of course, if you're able to join me halfway through, that's great. This is a reading of the short story A Whisper of Magic, which I wrote specifically for this campaign. And it is a prequel. It takes place about 15 or so years, 15, 20 years before the main events of the Midnight Land. And it foreshadows some key events in the Midnight Land, especially the denouement of the entire duology. And it's told from the point of view of a secondary character in the Midnight Land, but here he gets his own point of view story. And you see some things, just some side notes about the language and things like that. So, for example, the viewpoint character is named Boleslav Lasievich. Some of the other characters make jokes about arrogant Westerners. Boleslav is a kind of a Polish name, and the stereotype about Poles in Russia and sort of amongst the Eastern Slavs is that they're very arrogant. So that's where he talks about how he's from the West, and then they make jokes about arrogant Westerners because he's sort of part Polish. And there's that stereotype there. I also refer to some things like a domovaya. In Russian, a domovoy is a house spirit, and that's grammatically masculine. But I turned a lot of my mythological characters from masculine to feminine for the Midnight Land. So Domovoy became Domovaya. It's also a house spirit, but it's a female house spirit instead of a male house spirit. So that's what's going on there. There may be some other things too, and I will try not to talk about them for too long. Um, and I'll guess I'll just jump in and read the story. And I should also add that we might be about to get a huge storm here. So I hope this works. And if you hear thunder and lightning or see lightning and hear thunder in the background, that's what's going on. If I have to stop and calm animals down, that's what's going on. I actually have Poyu in my lap. He's very afraid of thunderstorms, but hopefully he'll be okay in my lap. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Just one last check. No one's emailing me. All right, let's go ahead and get started. A whisper of magic. It was a day for great deeds. Bolik could feel the greatness of the day in his bones. He had risen before dawn on this midwinter morn, not at all dismayed by the darkness that wrapped him in her embrace when he stepped out of the barracks. The sun would only show its face for a couple of candle marks on this, the shortest day of the year, if it came out at all. Okay, I'm going to stop there and just say for the record that I try to use the grammatical gender of words as they exist in the sort of Russian-based language that I've created in my head. So darkness is feminine and sun is neuter. I'll stop. I'll stop. Otherwise, we'll never get to the end of this if I say that about everything that we come across. But just so you know, that's what's going on there. Snowflakes brushed his lips with cold kisses, their falling filling his ears with a silvery sleeting sound as he jogged across the main square to the Kremlin Palace. He had his first ever guard duty for the imperial family today, and he didn't want to be late. Who are you? The guards at the palace entrance squinted at him suspiciously through the fast falling snow. Bolik had only arrived in Krasnograd, the capital city, 2 days ago. Many of the other guards didn't recognize him yet by sight. Bolik, Boleslav Vlasievich. What kind of a name is Boleslav? For that matter, what kind of a name is Vlasya? Didn't your mother have a real name? My mother was from the far west of Zim. Boleslav and Vlasya are both common names there. The two guards made faces at that and muttered something about arrogant Westerners. Bolik stood there patiently until they finished grumbling and asked, as if suddenly remembering, Hey, aren't you the one who came in with that caravan the other day? The one who's the new apple of the captain's eye? I came in with a caravan, Bulik confirmed. I don't know about being the apple of the captain's eye. Is it true you saved a princess's honor by fighting off a dozen bandits single-handedly? The younger of the two guards had stopped scowling and seemed on the verge of gushing with excitement. Four, said Bulik. The guards looked confused. There were only four bandits, he clarified. The younger guard looked disappointed. The older guard, who maybe had a better idea of what it meant to face down four foes single-handedly, looked impressed. And that's why you're here, he stated. Because you'd proven yourself in the provinces, so they sent you here to guard the Tsarina. Something like that, said Bulik. And now, if you don't mind, I don't want to be late. The guard stepped aside, letting him into the palace. Drink break. Doing the male voices really dries out my throat quickly. Bulik had been taken on a brisk tour of the imperial chambers the day before. He'd been struck then by the bright, high, whitewashed walls, made of sturdy brick and stone. He'd expected gold and silk and amber and furs, and there had been plenty of that too, especially in the private chambers. But out here in the corridors, the bones of the building showed through. It was a luxurious palace, fit for an empress, but it was also a center of government and commerce, its public areas spacious and spare. Above all, it was a fortress. It had only been conquered once, by the foremother of the current Tsarina, and that had been in ages past, when Ziem had not been a mighty country, but a patchwork of warring queendoms. Who would be fool enough to attack the Krasnograd Kremlin now? No one. Who would be fool enough to attack the Tsarina and her daughters? No one. Well, not unless he were very drunk. Speaking of drunk, Bulik squirt. Oh, Bulik. Oh no. You're getting all the outtakes here. Bulik skirted around two serving maids and a kitchen boy lying insensible in a corner. Last night's midwinter festivities had been a subdued affair, suitable for the dignity of a Tsarina, and Bulik hadn't participated at all, not wanting to show up to his first duty hungover. Apparently, other Kremlin servants hadn't felt so restrained. Why'd they choose to do their carousing there? It's right by the entrance to the dungeons. Bulik's skin crawled as he passed the dark, double-locked doors. Even with sturdy oak and iron bars between him and the stairs leading down into the dungeon's depths, he could feel the fetid air rising up from them, threatening to suck him down into their maw. Don't be silly. You're not going to end up down there. You're here to guard the imperial family, up in riches, luxury, and clean air. The dungeons have nothing to do with you. He shook off the unchancy feeling that had settled over him and started up the stairs, bright, light, and airy, leading to the upper floors of the Kremlin. He got lost briefly when he entered the private part of the palace, but a bleary-eyed maid pointed him in the direction of the Tsarina's chambers. Two guards looked him up and down when he presented himself at her door and demanded to know if there were any vodka left in the barracks. I don't know, Bulik said, startled. Do you need the password? We know who you are, they told him. Everyone knows who you are. It's all the maids are talking about. And indeed, two giggling girls peeped around the corner of the corridor, goggling at Bulik and whispering to each other. I'm not here to see maids, Bulik said. I'm here to present myself to the Tsarina and the Tsarinovnas. Think well of yourself, do you? One of the guards said. Think you're going to do great deeds day in and day out the entire time you're here. Let me tell you, there are no great deeds here. Just boredom and sore feet from standing all day. It will be an honor to serve my empress, Bulik said. The guards rolled their eyes at that, but let him into the inner chamber. It was a surprisingly small room, but richly furnished, with silk hangings on the walls, a little table inlaid with gold and amber, and a stove made with tiles from the east. Out of the corner of his eye, Bulik glimpsed a small, furry creature whisk behind a wall hanging. A cold draft made his skin prickle. Here, kitty kit. The other door opened before he could finish calling, and two women stepped inside. Not the Tsarina, her daughters. Bulik's heart jumped in his chest even so. He had seen the Tsarina and her heir from afar the day before. The younger daughter he hadn't seen at all, but he still knew her. Why do I feel so queer? His heart was pounding, his blood thundering in his ears, and his head swam as if he'd swigged down half a bottle of vodka on his way over. Who were you talking to? The older daughter demanded. The heir. She was tall, with snow-white skin stretched over strong bones, and a long black braid hung with garnets and rubies. Her features were flawless, and yet somehow the overall impression was flawed, like a diamond that couldn't be polished enough to shine. Not a woman to be crossed, Bulik told himself. Well, what else do you expect from a Tsarinovna? I. Bulik's tongue felt too big for his mouth. He forced himself to say the words slowly and clearly. I was calling your cat, Vladislava Tsarinovna. Vladislava Tsarinovna wrinkled her nose. There are no cats in this Kremlin, she informed him. I detest them. They make me sneeze. Have you been drinking? You can see he hasn't, Vladya, the other daughter interjected. The younger one. What is her name? To his horror, Bulik realized he couldn't remember the name of the Tsarina's younger daughter. His heart had jumped again at the sound of her voice and was now galloping in his chest like a prize racehorse. Then why is he claiming to see invisible cats? Vladislava Tsarinovna demanded. Her voice was strong and clear, the voice of an empress in training. It should have made Boleslav Vlasievich's heart leap in gladness. Instead, somehow, it grated on him. Like her face, it was too flawless, which made it irreparably flawed. What did this cat look like? The younger daughter asked with interest. No one would ever mistake her voice for that of an empress in training. It was soft and sweet, almost shy, and yet somehow it whispered into Bulik's ears. Great deeds! Great deeds! Black and furry, your Imperial Highnesses. She hid behind that wall hanging. Vladislava Tsarinovna jerked back in disgust. Get her out, she ordered. Catch her and throw her out the window this instant. Vladya, the younger sister turned to Bolik. Don't throw her out the window, she told him. Carry her down to the kitchens. The gods know they need help keeping the mice in check. Phew! Vladislava Tsarinovna made spitting motions. I'll have no cats in my kitchen, nasty beasts. You'll never even have to know she's there, Vladya, said the younger daughter soothingly. Here, I'll help. What is your name? I'm so sorry. We haven't been introduced. Boleslav Vlasievich, your Imperial Highness. Just call me Slava, said the younger daughter. She smiled. I suppose you could be a Slava, too. We could be Slavas together. Slava! He's a guard! You will address her as Krasnoslava Tsarinovna, the older daughter informed him. She is my half-sister. She will not inherit the throne, but the wise women say she has inherited our family's gifts of magic and foresight. Her voice suggested she doubted the wisdom of the wise women in this case. So that's what it is. She's a sorceress. Bulik's frantic heartbeat eased up slightly. His mother had some small gifts in that realm. He hadn't inherited her abilities, but he could sense the presence of magic in others. You should have known. That's why her family rules Ziem, after all, because they have the most powerful magic in all the land. I believe she's under there, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna, he said, pointing at the wall hanging. There was no telltale bulge in the silk, but he hadn't seen her come back out, and cats could be very canny at hiding. I'll lift the silk and you catch her. Krasnoslava Tsarinovna smiled at him. Unlike her sisters, her face was full of flaws. It was small, just like the rest of her, and too triangular, with a sharply pointed chin and unsettlingly large gray eyes. But somehow, taken all together, it was perfect. Bulik's magic sense whispered to him, fateful, great deeds. She lifted the bottom of the wall hanging. Vladislava Tsarinovna emitted a shriek and shrank back against the far wall. Bulik dove forward, ready to catch the cat. Where is she? Vladislava Tsarinovna was crying. Where is she? Keep her away from me. There's no cat here, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna told her, while Bulik caught himself against the wall, his dive ending in nothing. So he is a drunk, or a liar. I saw a cat, Bulik insisted, so angry at being called a drunkard and a liar that he forgot himself. I swear it, a small, furry little creature who scurried away as soon as I stepped into the room. My mother never raised a liar, and there was something in this room when I came in, I swear on her honor. Something, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna repeated. Her big gray eyes had gone soft and distant, as if she were looking at things only she could see. The hair on the back of Bulik's neck rose. Vladya, she said softly. Vladya, come out from that corner. Vladya, I don't think it was a cat at all. I think it was a domovaya. That would explain it, Bulik said. Then he wanted to kick himself. This was not the cozy provincial Kremlin he'd been serving in since he was a boy, where the princess treated all her guards like nephews. This was Krasnograd, the capital, and he was in the presence of not one, but two Tsarinovnas. He had to learn to hold his tongue and fast. Explain what? Krasnoslava Tsarinovna asked. Now her big gray eyes were bright with interest. The prickling. My skin prickles in the presence of magic, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna. It's been driving me crazy ever since I stepped into this room. Idiot! Surely you could have expressed yourself more elegantly in front of a Tsarinovna. Oh, you have magical gifts. My mother does, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna. Small ones, nothing like yours. And all I can do is sense it sometimes. I doubt mine are so very much greater than hers, Boleslav Vlasievich, she said with a smile. From the corner, her sister sniffed. In disapproval of the admission or contempt of her sister's gifts, Bolik couldn't say. Anyway, my sister and I have been searching for the Kremlin house spirit all winter, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna continued. The cooks all swear there used to be one in the time of our grandmother, but no one's seen her for a decade or more. The wise women read portents that change would come blowing into town with the midwinter winds this year. Change can be good, but it can also be bad, and the wise women couldn't tell us which it would be. So we went in search of the Domovaya to petition her for protection. We haven't seen any sign of her, but it seems you've had more luck. She smiled at him. Does your mother have an affinity for spirits? Yes, she does, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna. She's always befriended the Domovaya in every house we've ever lived in. Perhaps you should write to her and tell her about this one then. She smiled at him some more. Ask her for her advice in coaxing her out. I will do that, Krasnoslava Tsarinovna, just as soon as I get my first pay. What, you spent all your money on drink? Vladislava Tsarinovna called from the corner, where she was still taking shelter from the gods alone knew what. No, on passage here, your Imperial Highness. Caravan mistresses don't give rides out of the goodness of their hearts. When will you learn to hold your fool tongue? You're going to end up flogged or worse before you finish your first day of duty. Krasnoslava Tsarinovna was frowning and rummaging in a small purse she had pulled out of one sleeve. Here, she said. How much did you pay for your passage? Is two chervonsa enough? Three? You don't have to. I do, she interrupted him. You spent your last coin to come be in my family's service, and I, selfishly, want you to write to your mother right away. She placed two small gold coins in his hand. As she did so, her fingertips brushed his palm. A burning chill ran up the inside of his wrist, up his arm, across his chest, and right into his heart. Great deeds, his magic sense whispered to him. Together you will do great deeds. Now I'd better go, she said before he could thank her. My tutors will be angry with me if I'm late to my lessons. It was a pleasure to meet you, Boleslav Lesievich. Come find me as soon as you receive your mother's answer. I promise, Krasnoslava Tsarenovna, he found himself saying. Whatever you ask of me, I will fulfill it. Great deeds, the voice in his head told him. Great deeds. Then she was gone. The end. So that was that. As you can see, it's a very short story, unlike the actual duology itself, which is very, very long. But it does contain foreshadowing or things that will all come together in, like I said, the final denouement of the duology of the little miniseries. And just as another side note, when she talks about is two червонца enough, three, I don't know if you know anything about counting in Slavic languages, but you use different endings depending on how many things you have. So she's using the correct ending there for two things because you use different ending for two things than you have for one thing or lots of things. So that's a fun thing. So it's two czerwonca, but one czerwoniec and many czerwoncev. So that's just a fun side note I thought I'd throw in there. So yeah, it looks like we did not get hit by any storm, so that's great. And I will post this recording soon. And thank everyone for watching. And I will be in touch soon. До свидания.